Guess we're gonna get started on the transmission and disassembly. I believe we can start with the front pump. I believe I got a puller from Harbor Freight, which might work. Preferably, you'd probably like two pullers, so you can pull one side, left side, one side, left side, right side, together at the same time without having to pull out one puller and then attaching onto the other side, that sort of thing. You can work a little bit quicker if you do that, but I only have one puller, so I'm just gonna make that single puller work. I think I'm gonna disassemble potentially just remove the valve body out of the case and just set it aside. Before you start disassembling the transmission itself, it's good to take note of the clearances and of what's going on with the transmission in its current state. This input shaft here, you're supposed to have a dial indicator, like you have to clamp it on against the case of the transmission and then put the dial indicator on this input shaft right here. And then you should have a factory tolerance of 35 thousandths. I'm going to adjust the camera so you can kind of see how much this moves from the side. Yeah, that's more than 35 thousandths that the factory would definitely like. Usually you'd use hand tools here just to get a feel of how loose these bolts are when they come off. In this case, I'm too much of a pansy. I can't remove these bolts, so they're pretty tight. So I'm going to be using this impact driver. But go easy because it's going into aluminum, I believe. And if you strip the aluminum, you're going to need to Healy coil it. So this is the vent plate, this thing right here. The vent is all the way at the top so the water doesn't get into the transmission. So we need breaker bars for two of those other ones. Okay, sounds good. Good news is those are pretty tight, so I think we can safely assume that nobody has been in here for a very long time. Every time I remove those bolts out of the front pump, a burning smell or stench kind of permeates out, so we can kind of guess what's going on in here. Probably burnt clutches or no clutches at all. Okay, so now we're gonna use the slide hammer or puller. So when you're looking at the front pump from forward head on, you're gonna notice that two holes are threaded. Those are gonna be for the puller. So you'd tap on it a couple times, probably 4 times or so with the puller, and then you proceed to take this rod off and then move it to the other side. Okay, now we're going to move over to the other side. I don't like the looks of the other side because the threads are kind of messed up. Hopefully we'll be able to repair those threads with a thread chaser or tap and die. But this is the puller set that I'm using. It's from Harbor Freight. It'll do its job. You can buy 2 of these and then you can pull them left, right, kind of like what I said earlier. Now if you have some gloves, now would be the time to do so or put them on, because if there's metal shaving and it gets in your hand, it's pretty hard to get off and it hurts. Alright, there we go. Okay, so the band adjustment needs to be backed off. So I had to turn the transmission pretty much on its back, and then I started loosening the cooler lines. So the cooler lines are off right there, and right back there covered in all the dirt. But don't worry, if the dirt gets in, well, I'll clean it all out. Right now I'm loosening the, I believe that's the low reverse band. This might be a hint on why I was hearing that noise when I was driving. This band is loose, meaning if I tighten this up and then go drive it, it's probably just fine. But we're at the stage of, hey, the transmission's out, might as well rebuild it. But there's a good chance that nothing's wrong with the transmission also. It's just the adjustments are out of whack. By yeah, 5/16 adjusting nut backed by a 5/8 lock nut. So I'm just looking at this adjusting nut and it's backed all the way off. So maybe somebody in the past were just trying to get by without tearing apart the transmission. They're like, no, we're just gonna take the adjustment out as far as possible and then see if we're gonna be able to use the transmission this way. And looks like that's what they just did. There we go. There's a drum. Oh, well, I don't think I was supposed to get that far right off the go. Here's your clutch packs in here. I think it's this down here. This is your drum. I mean, this is your band. Excuse me. I don't see, you know, it's very unfortunate, but I see very minor amounts of flaking on the band here, but nothing looks catastrophically wrong. So here's an interesting look at the planetaries, what we can see from here so far. I'm going to need to remove the nut from the rear so that the output shaft can be removed, I believe. If you can see that, it's a three pinion planetary, so we can make definitely some upgrades here. We can probably go to a 4-pinion planetary, or even bump it up to 6 planetary, which that's pretty an enticing deal, if I do say so myself. But so far, I'm not seeing anything catastrophically wrong. I don't exactly see any galling or anything like that. Everything rotates as it should. Now that's very odd. These are supposed to be 2 pieces, aren't they? Oh, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Four clutches. But looking at this, you can count the teeth in here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 friction discs. The area right here looks like definitely galling. So there was little to no fluid getting here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah, that's interesting. I thought, that's very interesting. I thought certain A727s on the rear clutches, they're supposed to have 3 clutch discs, and then meanwhile the front drum has 4 clutch discs, so that's correct. But this one has an extra one, so somebody may have been in here after all. Well, aside from that, let's get some snap-ring pliers so we can disassemble these clutch packs. Alright, so we're gonna see if I can start disassembling one of these, the front clutch drum, and see if there's any issues in here. We're not gonna be disassembling here, the center portion, because that's spring loaded. There's springs underneath this circular area here. That would be probably a good time to wear some safety glasses also, because if the spring comes out and it gets you in the eye, well, now you have one eye less to use. Okay, so both edges are out. Let's see. So this has a thickness. I believe it's like 19 thousandths. There's different thickness snap rings that you could get to get more clutches or pressure plates in here. Okay, so that's your pressure plate, and boy oh boy, the clutches don't look good on here. Pressure plate can be a different thickness also. Just set that there. Okay, so the clutches, well, there's nothing left. Not surprising. But, okay, so there's some portions that's kind of grippy, but then it just kind of goes really smooth. Leave that aside, and just keep track of which clutch goes on top, and vice versa, which pressure plate and plates, or clutch plates, went on in order. So here's your pressure plate. I don't see maybe a little bit of a rainbow colors here, so it got a little bit warm. There's some nicks on here, if you can see that. Nicks along the edge. I don't see any cracks. Actually, I think that might be a minor crack right there. Alright. We're just gonna keep track of how it goes. Actually, so you don't lose track of what goes in order, you just hold it like that, like a pizza or something. Okay, well, same story with these. These have a little bit of a rainbow color to it, so these got hot. They got a little bit of nicks in it. Okay. And, oh. Now that is probably not good. Two pressure plates stuck against one another. That, I believe that is not factory. Or somebody from the factory screwed it up, because they shouldn't exist like that. It's just one single plate. So there's an extra one, so cool. I mean, we got an extra part, but that's not normal. An extra plate at the bottom. So to remove this piece right here, I got this tool from Amazon. I'll link this tool down into the description. From the looks of it, this should work with this front clutch drum. So I'm going to place this on here, and then these are going to press down on here. I do not exactly know what this part is called. And this will press this down enough so that I can remove the snap ring right there. Be sure when the arms do come down, you're not blocking the way for the snap ring to come out. There you go, your clip is out. Okay, so you have this piece. It holds all the springs in place. So that's how it looks. You have the springs lined in there. Keep in mind of the layout of the springs. If you have the service manual, it should probably tell you what layout to use. But, oh, that's interesting. I believe maybe 67, 65 and up A727s, they have pedestals that you can place your springs on, like numerous ones. So it's like you have empty ones and such. This one has a predetermined amount of pedestals to place your springs on. So meaning I have to run with what I got next time I put this back together. So no upgrades here, it looks like. If you have rubber tipped pliers, that'd be really nice too. I'm gonna see if I can just kind of lightly hold this and then yank it out. Okay, you hear that? That suction noise. So that means the seal might be fine. The seal might be working fine. It's got some scoring on here because there's that extra pressure plate that the clutch friction plate that should have been there. Okay, so there's that. Anyway, snap ring pliers. We're gonna be taking off the snap ring right here that's holding the front planetary in place. And then once that's off, we can get to the sun gear and the shell. And then we can start getting to the rear planetaries after that also. So of course, once again, one of my pet peeves, or actually, no, it's not exactly a pet peeve, one of my unfortunate mechanic moments, I got into a rush and started disassembling shit, so I apologize for that. The planetary doesn't look so healthy. It's got a lot of scoring inside it. I think some of this might be factory, but some of it's probably not. If you can see this, the scoring on the planetary. See that? There's a consistent nick going across right here. If you can see that. See that? And then you go to another planetary gear, and then it's same story. It's got the like this little ugly line or scratch here. The other one is a different story. It's more centered on the planetary gear. See that? You can see with a reflection. So you can repair this planetary by just replacing the gears only. But if I'm coming this far, I'm probably just going to replace the whole entire planetary. We have... There's that. Okay, so this is the sun gear and shell. So I just yank this out like that. It rotates fine. But you see this? Very shiny. Very shiny. And you pull that out. And you see how shiny that surface looks? Right here? That just... And it's a different color, so it got really, really warm or hot. This looks to be cast aluminum also. Hence why it's so lightweight. Very, very interesting. And then the pattern of the teeth has these little nicks that you see here. Tip my finger. Same story applies to here. It's just barely catches your finger. So the consensus is if you see any nicks or damage on the gears, replace the planetary. And it looks like this is going to happen on both planetaries. So this transmission is going to get completely overhauled at this point, it looks like. And oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's very odd. I'll have to look at my service manual again, but there's supposed to be a washer here. Unless this is a washer here and then it's literally welded onto here, or somebody left it out. The thrust washer is not here. Unless that only exists on the front planetary gears. Wow, that is very odd. Alright, so we're almost down to the case, almost. We're just gonna... Seems like we're gonna need to remove valve body perhaps, and then potentially remove the sprag also.